Hey brother, I didn't go looking for pickup lines. I wasn't trying to find some trick to memorize. I just typed a question into AI out of genuine curiosity. How do you seduce a woman fast? What came back wasn't what I expected. No techniques, no scripts, no openers. What it gave me was a psychological breakdown so sharp and so counter to everything men are taught that I had to stop and read it twice. The first line alone hit different. Women are seduced not by effort, but by energy. The most seductive man isn't the one who does the most, it's the one who needs the least. Let that sit for a second, because here's what most men actually do. They come in outcome hungry. They want something to happen, they want it fast, and that want leaks out of every pore. The tone of voice, the speed of the reply, but the way they lean in a little too eagerly. Women feel that hunger before a man says a word, and the moment they feel it, the game shifts in the wrong direction. AI explained it like this: speed kills seduction, not because moving fast is wrong in itself, but because rushing signals that you need the moment to go a certain way. And need is the enemy of magnetic. The counterintuitive move: make her want things to move fast while you move slow. Be the one person in her day who isn't rushing somewhere. That contrast is quieter than any line you could drop and 10 times more powerful. Then it broke down the concept of emotional tension, and this is where it got really interesting. Tension here doesn't mean conflict, it means an open question she can't stop turning over. When you're predictable, obvious, immediately legible, she files you away, categorized, safe, forgettable. But when she can't quite get a read on you, when you're calm and unhurried and not performing for her approval, something else happens. She starts leaning in. She starts investing attention she didn't plan to spend. You haven't said anything seductive, you're just present without being pressed. And that absence of neediness reads as something rare. One line from the AI response I keep coming back to: seduction is subtraction, not addition. Most men operate in addition mode. More compliments, more texts, more energy thrown at the interaction, more of themselves handed over freely hoping something sticks. But what that actually does is flood the space. There's no room for her imagination to do anything when you've already filled it all. Seduction lives in the gaps, in what you don't say, in the message you don't send, in the moment you could have pushed forward but chose not to. The fewer words you use, the more weight each one carries. The less you reveal, the more she wonders. And wondering is where desire starts. You stop being a presentation and become a puzzle. Her instinct will do the rest. Here's something AI said that I genuinely didn't expect. Eye contact seduces more than compliments. Not in a staring, unsettling way. In a grounded, unhurried way. The gaze of a man who isn't trying to impress, who isn't nervous about what she thinks, who is simply observing her with calm interest. That kind of eye contact communicates something that bypasses language entirely. It says, I see you, and I'm not intimidated by you. It creates a wordless intimacy that most men never manufacture. Why? Because they spend the whole conversation talking when they should be looking. When you look at a woman like you've already assessed her and you're quietly deciding if she interests you further, something flips. Now she's the one wondering how she's landing. She starts performing for you without realizing it. You haven't moved. You haven't said anything sharp. You just held the frame. Then it said something that restructured how I think about escalation entirely. The fastest seduction is the slowest escalation. If you push for physicality, she resists. That's obvious. But here's the subtler version. If you hold back when she expects you to lean in, the absence of that move becomes louder than the move itself. She's wondering why you didn't try. She's thinking about it. That mental loop she's running is more intimate than most physical contact because she's generating it herself. Restraint communicates control, and a man who is visibly in control of his own impulses, who wants something but doesn't desperately need it, that is the rarest thing. It says, I want you, but I'm not going to fall apart over you. And women have been conditioned by a world of men who fall apart. When they meet one who doesn't, the contrast is striking. AI dropped one line that stopped me cold. Every time you don't react, you become more attractive. Think about what that means in practice. She says something, testing. She delays a reply. She sends a message with a slight edge. The average man responds immediately, explains himself, asks what's wrong, fills the silence with reassurance. The rare man waits, maybe responds briefly, maybe says nothing at all, not to punish, not to play games, but because he's genuinely not destabilized. His mood doesn't live in her behavior, and her mind goes to work. Why didn't he react? Is he unaffected? Is he thinking about something else entirely? She's now emotionally engaged with you in your absence. You haven't done anything. You've just declined to be moved. And that declination is what the imagination grabs onto. One of the more psychological points was this: too much availability erases polarity. Polarity is the charge between two people. It requires a gap. It requires some degree of not having. When a woman feels she already has you completely, the gap closes, the charge dies, and what's left is comfort without electricity, pleasant, forgettable. You don't seduce by being always available. You create low-level scarcity. Not by manufacturing it artificially, but by actually having a life that doesn't pause for her. By being genuinely the kind of man who isn't always free, always responsive, always waiting. That fullness is its own statement. She starts competing for space in your attention because that space is clearly finite. Here's the line that tied everything together. Seduction is not what you do, it's what your absence causes. It's not about how smooth you are when you're present. It's about what she feels when you're gone, what happens when you leave the room, what moves through her when she sees your name and you're no longer immediately available. The real seduction is the residue, what you leave behind in her thinking when the interaction is over. The men she can't stop thinking about aren't the ones who said the cleverest things. They're the ones who created an open loop she's still trying to close days later. They dropped something unresolved and walked away, and her mind, which hates unfinished business, keeps returning to it without being asked. So what's the actual answer to the question? How do you seduce fast? You become so grounded that she feels something the moment you're in the same space. Not because you performed, not because you said something clever, but because the quality of your presence is different from what she usually encounters. You're calm in a world of men chasing her attention. You're unhurried when everyone else is rushing. You're interested without being desperate. Speak less than you think you should. Reveal less than feels natural. Hold eye contact a second longer than comfortable. Don't rush the moment. Don't push toward outcomes. Will be the man who seems to have somewhere better to be even when he doesn't. And when she tests you, as she will, stay still. That stillness is the seduction. Not a line, not a move, just a man who is entirely at ease with himself, who doesn't need this to go a specific way, and who carries that ease like something he was born with. She will feel it immediately. She may not be able to name it, but she'll be thinking about it long after you've stopped thinking about her. That's the paradox the AI gave me, and it's the most honest thing I've heard about attraction in a long time. To seduce fast, slow everything down.